Chronometry calibrated. The gateway will open in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Analyzing data. Likelihood of parallel universes now at 24%. Continuing analysis of the many worlds hypothesis.
In 2018, I went and saw a movie that disturbed and upset me so much that I swore I would never see it again. 2 days later, I went back because it had its hooks in my brain and I couldn't find another way to get it out. That movie was Hereditary, directed by Ari Aster. And this season on the Many Worlds Hypothesis, in honor of Spooky Month, we'll be covering Aster's filmography. Hello, everyone. I'm Gay Fesh. Joining me, as always, is the lovely Moss.
Hello.
And DemonMama.
Hello.
And how are you? Now, I know we're recording this a week early, but this comes out on the National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. So how are you celebrating your George Floyd Day?
Wow. Well, I am celebrating by recording this podcast, which is, about a film that finally took the bold feminist stance that women can be family annihilators too. So that's how I'm celebrating.
True.
Oh man, shit's gotten weird since the last time we recorded together, huh?
Yeah. A lot of injuries and more fascism and all that sort of fun stuff.
It feels like we advanced through like a season of Andor in the time since we were last able to record together.
Since we covered Andor, yeah.
Yeah, since we covered Andor, yeah.
We're not quite all the way to Gorman yet, but...
DemonMama, you had seen Hereditary already, right?
Yes, I had. I'd seen it once, and I was happy to get to see it again because it has been a very long time since I've seen Hereditary. Now I've seen Hereditary twice. When we do Midsommar, I will have seen that one 4 times. But I've never seen Beau is Afraid, and I've never seen Paddington. Eddington. Sorry, Paddington's the one with the bear.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bear in Eddington. There might be. I haven't seen it. All right, so Moss, since this is fresh content for you, you've never seen this before, what are your first thoughts? And I do know your first thoughts were messaging the group chat, hey, real quick, what the fuck? So let's jump off from there.
The line spacing, much like a poem, is very important. Hey, real quick, what the fuck?
There you go.
Yeah, I am not a horror movie person, so I guess although I did just recently see a bunch of charts of the popularity of various genres in film, and horror is at an all-time peak in terms of just production.
We're in a golden age.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's super not my genre usually. We will find out over the course of these movies whether it will become my genre or not. I don't know. I felt like there were a couple times when I was watching it where I was like, this scene I can feel is very intense. So I'm going to look at this monitor for a minute and do my Walmart order for tomorrow. So it was definitely interesting. I think that the main thing that sticks out to me as oh, that was a really interesting filmmaking choice. And I'm not familiar with this genre. So maybe I see more supernatural oriented stuff. This one felt much more human up until the end. A lot of just interpersonal things, like the horror that you get when she starts eating the walnut cake and you're no, that was just a really interesting style of horror, I guess. Is that what Ari Aster's signature is?
Oh,
yes,
well,
pretty much. Is that he's using
horror
movie, right? To this was his first movie. I mean, he had done short films and stuff before that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of those.
But yes,
and all of the best horror will just use the horror framing as a way to examine some aspect of humanity. And for Ari Aster, it is usually relationships falling apart. That's pretty much the theme in all of the films of his that I have seen. And it can hit very different. And I actually think, the last 5 minutes of the movie, I think, are the weakest just because it goes so much into the, okay, we've spent all of this time watching the breakdown of this family, and now here we're gonna do the horror movie shit with the floating mom banging her head on the ceiling, and
that did freak me out. I was like, don't like that.
That was far more just standard horror fare, but up to that point, it's a very different horror movie because it's not like the schlock, look at this big thing. That it's a horror movie in that it makes you feel horrible.
Yeah, it's a dread movie.
Yes.
The first time I saw this movie, I remember the moment that the mom said, "Oh, there's no nuts in there," or the dad, I think, says, "Oh, there's no nuts in that," right? I'm like, "Oh, fucking
foreshadowing."
No.
Yep, it's going to come around.
Like, oh, no.
He asks, and then the mom immediately asks again, and I'm just like, okay, yes, thank you. She's going to have an allergic reaction sometime in the film. You've set that up very well.
And it was so much worse than I could have expected. It was really interesting because we watched this with my partner who's never seen this movie, and the moment the movie started, it was just like dead silence for the entire runtime, and then for I would say a solid 2 minutes after the credits ended, there was just dead silence while everyone was just kind of like, because it is just, wow. The tension in this film is it's a miserable film, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, I just gotta say before we get into the real meat of this, the final song at the end that has made it into memedom, the da, da, da. I'm all way off tone, but you know what I'm talking about,
the triumphant music as Paimon has finally taken a male host.
Yeah.
Our poor beleaguered trans demon. Yeah, no, it is a song of triumph. It's got dissonance in it because obviously the triumph is not one that we support. I'm all for trans people. I'm not all for demons. Sorry, DemonMama.
That's all right. But it's that track is just, it's so perfect, and it smacks you in the face with the dissonance from the tone of the rest of the film. But there's a reason why it made it to memedom, and it deserves its place in the meme Hall of Fame, even though most people don't know it's from Hereditary anymore.
I forgot it was from Hereditary when it started up again. I was just like, wait, I thought that was the one from Midsommar. I thought that played in Midsommar, and that's why it was the meme. But no, I was wrong.
Yeah,
it was this one.
By the way, I am very excited for Midsommar, but let's focus on Hereditary.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, Moss, since this was your first time ever watching it. The end scene where Joan is explaining everything to Peter, now Paimon, about how he has been taken over, how much of that helped you piece together everything? Because that was very clearly not in the original script.
Oh, it was not in the original. Oh, I feel like I didn't need it because
okay, good. Thank you.
I saw it in the book before. It was in the book.
Ari Aster did not have final cut rights on this film, and he had been trying to get a director's cut, but he didn't have the rights to it, and that's why he ended up making his own production company so that Midsommar had a theatrical release and then a director's cut, and we're going to be watching the director's cut, which I haven't seen yet. But the film is not subtle. Everything that's happening to them is laid out in the film pretty explicitly. It's just not every single thing is explicitly connected. You're expected as an audience member to be actively watching and paying attention and being able to piece together fairly obvious things. And you can tell because Joan isn't on screen when she's giving that whole explanation. That was very clearly, okay, let's get her in the ADR studio and just record something to explain it to the popcorn slop audience.
It was actually super awkward. Yeah, it was super out of place, and it did not feel like it meshed with the scene, and it did not feel like a good way to end the movie.
Yeah. It's all of that. It's all there. And this movie is one that really does benefit from rewatches. If you didn't pick up on everything, you go through the second time, you're like, well, because actually, full disclosure, in 2018, when I saw it the first time, I kind of actually did need that recap at the end. It was okay, all right, I had the pieces, but that helped me put it together. And then watching it a second time, I was able to see everything that I missed. And there's a lot of little details too that, depending on the screen that you're watching on, there's a lot of the cultists who are hiding in the shadows and
that was something that I caught the second time that I didn't the first time.
Black on black, where it is so hard to see that They're like, I was, I did 2 watches, and on my second watch, I was like making sure to see and I'm sure I still missed bits where like there's, and like all of those, all the Satanists, they're all at the funeral scene. You'll recognize their faces if you look close enough. And then like the scene with Peter at school where they're discussing a Sophocles play, and they're talking about, well, is it more tragic that Heracles didn't have a choice or whatnot? And they're like, they're all pawns in this horrible, hopeless machine. It's like, yes, okay, thank you. I understand the thesis of the film. You've laid it out very explicitly for me that this film about a family falling apart where none of them wants to take responsibility for their part in it, but at the end of the day, they ultimately aren't the ones responsible for it. They were pawns in this Satanist cabal. They were all being manipulated. Even, Charlie's death, like there's a Paimon symbol is drawn on the electric pole. That killed Charlie, and they laid out the dead fox on the road that made Peter swerve. So like all of that was out of their control. But that's also like a thing that's explored where Annie has trouble accepting the fact that she tried to kill her children, that she blames it on the sleepwalking.
Oh yeah, that's one where it's like I find the like complete unreliability of like the Annie perspective to be like one of my favorite parts of this movie, where it's just like everything from her perspective, where anytime the camera's following her, it's just like you cannot trust what's going on here, or like what she is saying here. Like it's to the point where we don't even know if she was actually going to those events like regularly. It's implied that she's like regularly going to the movies. She's like, oh, I'm going to see a movie. And the husband is like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, then you see she's going to like the trauma group or whatever. But then it's like, okay, well, is she even going to this group on a regular? It's like it seems like she's not even, like she might have been out. Like she is probably the one who moved the body into the attic.
It was mentioned because in her first group session, she like lays out like basically the mental health history of her family. She said her mom had DID, her brother committed suicide probably because their mom's first choice for Paimon, and that's why like they kept their mama away from them when they had Peter, and then it wasn't until Charlie showed up, and that's why. But Paimon gets stuck in female hosts, but he prefers a male host. And there's all that stuff laid out, but like Annie, in describing all of that, never describes her own mental issues.
Yes, yeah. Which we see hints of the whole time.
Yeah,
through.
She's taking pills. It's just kind of implied the whole movie, yeah.
And the husband is writing a letter.
I think she probably has some flavor of DID as well. Like, I think that is probably what she is calling sleepwalking. And I don't know if there is any correlation between sleepwalking and DID, or if they get confused or anything like that.
Well, there's amnesia.
I'm not an expert.
So at the very minimum, like she could be conscious in another, like with another person fronting, and she could lose the memory of it and think she basically was asleep. Like if you're not connecting the dots, that you're losing time because someone else is operating the body. Like, so I think that that's probably what's going on.
I know from my limited experience, I used to sleepwalk as a kid, but I have memories of the sleepwalking. It just felt like a dream. It's just that as I awoke, like I would tell my mom, and she's like, yeah, no, that was, you did that. But in my memory, it still felt like a dream. Also, like, I don't know if Annie is like diagnosed NPD, but she definitely has certain narcissistic traits, like the blow up scene at dinner when she is literally doing the things that she's accusing Charlie of. She's accusing Peter of. In the phrase, like she's just like, don't you ever swear at me, you little shit, and don't you raise your voice at me, I am your mother. Like when he wasn't really raising his voice, maybe a little because she was yelling at him and she was upset. But yeah, like all of these things that she's doing, and then she's yelling at Peter saying that he can't accept responsibility for killing Charlie, and it's like, you can't accept responsibility for almost killing both of your kids, and then Peter throws it back. What about your responsibility because Charlie didn't want to go to that party and you made her? And it's something that I think like a less attentive audience member might not even pick up on, because Annie is the focal character. And so just from like a filmmaking perspective, we're supposed to, empathize with and follow her. But like, she also is just as broken and just as flawed and just as kind of awful as the rest of her family members in some ways. I also felt like the movie just kind of, I don't know, like the husband, it felt like he was doing his best, but he was very obviously emotionally unavailable. And I felt like he kind of fell into the useless husband trope a little much, especially for somebody who I'm pretty sure he was a therapist or a psychologist or something. I don't remember if it was explicitly stated in the movie, but
I don't remember his career at all.
Yeah, it was like it was just something that wasn't explicitly stated, but like I think it was in certain, like maybe a credential sign here or there. But like I noticed that the only time he cried in the movie wasn't when Charlie, his daughter, died. It was when he almost ran a red light and got hit by a car because when he was taking Peter home after Peter smashed his face on his desk.
It's like he starts to lose control. I find that character interesting because I find him to be like very sympathetic, but also like dysfunctional in his own way. Like it's clear that like his way of surviving the constant stress of their household is to withdraw a little. That he's like I wouldn't say he's completely emotionally unavailable because we do see him, especially with his kids, try to like breach. But with his wife, it's like, he constantly gets rejected. And so there's this like safety in all that he does. So it's he's very withdrawn, but I find him to be like a very sympathetic character. I felt so bad for him for the whole movie. I'm just like, oh man, like he's trapped and
their marriage has to have been in trouble for a while because one of the first scenes that we see between them is the two of them just casually telling each other lies. He gets called about her mom's grave getting desecrated, and he lies and says it's a billing issue. Then she lies to him and says she's going to see the movies when she's actually going to therapy. That's like one of their first interactions together, is just those casual lies.
I mean, I think that is very like important to setting up the like one of the layers of this movie, which I think there's like 3 layers to the through line of this movie, which is that like there is the hereditary that is genetic, heritability. Like, did she inherit and also pass on to her kids some kind of propensity towards mental illness? But then there is the other side of hereditary, which is like the social. And we can see that like a lot of her behaviors are just the same as she's describing her mom, where she's like, oh, my mom was super private. Like she had secret friends, secret this, secret that. And she's doing the same thing in her relationship. She has her little secret projects. She has her secrets that she inherited from her mom that she's not sharing with anybody. She has her secret friends and her secret meetings and all of these things.
She mentions her friend Joan, and her husband goes, who's Joan?
Who's Joan? Yeah, who's Joan? And so, we see her repeating those same behaviors. And then there's, of course, the third line, which is like a hereditary cult, like a cult that clings to families and, whether they like it or not, imposes this demonic stuff onto them. But like, I feel like her early interactions are like establishing the second layer there, like the non-genetic layer, the like social and behavioral repetition that she's inherited from her parents, and that she, imposes onto her kids. This is so, okay, I wanted to just say something real quick about the ending, because we've all, like, I think all of us have expressed a little bit of weirdness about the ending. I feel like the ending is the one that gives me the most, like, dissonance. And I don't know if I, like or hate it. Like, my first instinct was to be, like, a little bit of an eye roll at the ending, just because it's so loud and it's so in your face and it's so, like, blatantly supernatural. But in a second viewing, I started to see it more as like, oh, we're not like the head pounding, the mom floating, all of these things is like not literal. It's the delusions and hallucinations are now manifesting, and ultimately a alternate personality is manifesting in the now traumatized son, who has like now gone through the exact same thing that his mother went through with her mom. And like, that's like, that made me go, okay, like that works. That makes the ending work a little better for me. I still think that there's like the ADR like explanation came off as very like hammy. And there's like this one shot where the mom is crawling on the wall, and I was just like, oh, come on. Like, it
Little
looked
exorcist
so,
moment.
it looked so lame. Like some of the effects were cool. Like there was some, I mean, oh, like I love the like, I mean, a lot of the like horror imagery and stuff in this movie is fantastic, but like some of the more overt stuff and like the body floating up into the thing, those both
Yeah,
looked very
that was
silly.
silly.
And like, so I don't know. I kind of like that aspect. Another thing that's on this that I didn't notice the first time watching this movie is what you mentioned earlier, Kfesh, was the cultists. There's so many more of those like hints to these like creeping on the edges of your vision than I noticed at first. The first one that I saw that I didn't see before was there's a shot where we see, I think it's Peter is looking out his window, and it cuts to like a reverse shot from outside of the house, and you can barely see it
On
but
the
there
left
is,
side.
yeah, there's
breath.
a silhouette and then breath. Yeah.
He's puffing out the bong. Yeah.
Yeah, he breathes out the bong smoke and then breath from the house. And like we see like the heater in the treehouse light up, like the red light from that. And sometimes because like when Annie gets up out of bed, like she mentions there's a heater, like she's just going to go sleep in the treehouse because that was Charlie's favorite place. But also there might be times where that's not Annie in there.
There's another one too where right before there's this really horrible and awkward scene where Charlie goes outside and is like walking outside, and then right after that, like the mom gets really mad, is like, are you an idiot, and all this kind of stuff like that. And it's terrible. But before that, there's like a shot of her just kind of roaming around in the yard, and we see this like there's this really evocative overhead shot of her walking down the path, and we see in front of her that there is like adult-sized footprints already going out into the woods.
Oh, I missed that.
I saw the footprints. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
there?
oh man, that's so creepy. Like,
well, I mean, we saw the cultist in the distance lighting that fire. So we can assume
I was
it was
unclear
them.
on whether that was actually happening or not, but I guess it probably was.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I do think that this movie intentionally lives in like a realm of confusion. Like, like whether like the cult is even real is hard. Like, it doesn't really. I guess it doesn't really change the what the movie is talking about, but also it's like there's so much where it's like whether the cult is real or not, it's all also things that could happen if you were having like severe psychosis. And the like intensification of it, like if we see the movie from Peter's view, it's like, oh, it starts as small things, him like thinking he sees someone, to outright like auditory hallucinations. Like it, I think it's like it works both as like a literal, story about a cult, and also as like, oh, this is like the psychosis, the like trauma-born psychosis is waking up in this kid who's now being like constantly traumatized by his psychotic mom.
And also the guilt from having killed his sister.
Yes,
those things compound.
Yeah, they compound. Yeah. I guess one thing that I would critique about this movie, or one thing I don't really know how to deal with it, is like Charlie. I think the idea is that Paimon is like living in Charlie. Am I wrong about that?
Yes,
like,
that is correct. And that's why Charlie had to die to free up Paimon to move into Peter.
Is it basically like that the grandma gave it to Charlie because like,
That's why the grandma breastfed.
She was having worse DID at the end of her life, which is probably more Paimon, and then sent it to Charlie.
Yeah. The grandma was a host for Paimon, and then Charlie was a host for Paimon, and then Annie was very briefly a host for Paimon, and that's why the three of them, their decapitated bodies, are there at the altar at the end when Peter arrives as the final.
They're like the recent hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I guess that aspect makes me like the least partial to the literal version of this story. Just because it's so mean-spirited. If we're supposed to believe that like Charlie is like the vessel for Paimon, and it's like, oh, so she's not just like an innocent like like weird kid. She's like an evil kid. And I kind of hate that. Like I kind of hate the idea that like, I guess that just, and I have to feel like that's not like in the spirit of the movie at all, which makes me just go, okay, so.
Well, if we're to take the whole DID thing at its word, then it sounds like Paimon is like, maybe Paimon can't fully control a female body and that's why he wants a man.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe he hops between them, like, because if we're assuming that the time that she threatened or she put paint thinner all over them, that could have been a temporary possession because her mom wasn't dead yet at that time.
And that's what leads me to go like, okay, this is like all not literal and it's all just in their heads because the Paimon thing is like an imposed explanation. You know what I mean? And where it's like, okay, it doesn't actually line up like exactly with this lore. And it's like, if you just had like, if you felt like your body was out of control, you might like rationalize it as like a demon taking over you. And then if you give that a name, it could become like, you know, again, it could be another thing that you pass down to your kids. Oh, well, you know, the demon just comes over us sometimes, that kind of thing. Yeah. But there's so much, like, I do really like overall this movie's like ambiguity. The part with the like dead body in the attic, which is one of the creepiest like pieces of imagery in this entire movie. Everything from like the dad acknowledging it like multiple scenes before where he's like, God, it smells terrible in here. And it's like you see the flies start showing up in the house and then there's the ants and it's like, oh God. But like that is like, okay, the dead body being up there and every single other like weird cult occurrence within the house is
all of the scribblings on the wall.
Yeah, they're all things that Annie could have done easily.
Can we talk about the houses? I'm sorry. Can we talk about the doll houses?
The miniatures.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that? She's like processing her grief by recreating the scene of her daughter's death and shit. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and her husband calls her. Is like, what if Peter sees that? And she's like, it's a neutral view of the accident. It's not about him. It's like that's the moment where he killed his sister. You
think that he's just going to not respond to that? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also like there's like a kind of a meta level to that because like a lot of the shots in the actual house are shot like the house
like
the
they would be
interior
from the
was
side of a dollhouse. Yeah.
It was all you know on a soundstage. They did really far away shots so that everything like you know the opening shot literally goes from the dollhouse to Peter's actual bedroom.
Statement shot. What a statement shot. Like
Truly.
You just open it up and go, hey, I caught you, hooked you, you're in.
Yeah, there's debatable whether any of this is real or who has control over the situation. Like there's an implication, I think, because she can place things wherever of like her having more control over the situation or maybe grasping for a sense of control over her life and the situation. It's weird.
She has like this controlling streak that you see
from her. Yeah.
Yeah. My partner brought up a really great example of this, which was the seance where she tries to perform the seance scene. In that she's like seems to be like fully psychotic, you know, extremely like hyper manic, like freaking out. But like, and in that moment, it's like my way or the highway. She literally is like, okay, well then we can move the table over here then. Like it doesn't matter. Like I can just set you all up like dolls. Like she's literally setting her family up like dolls and like telling them where to put their hands. And it's like when she is most lost in her like mental illness, she becomes extremely controlling and also has this very like free form approach to the truth where just like her miniatures, she can sort of write it out or draw it out or structure it however she wants. And when people don't go with that, she gets really agitated. Arguably, she kills them, like with the husband at the end, where it's like, oh, you're not doing what I want you to do. He's like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, this is being foisted on me. And then he just like catches on fire.
I don't think she knew that was going to happen. I want to offer her that grace that I don't think she was.
From her point of view, she thought she was killing herself.
Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, if we take that through the lens of like her mental illness and like and a sort of narcissistic controlling urge, like
if it's symbolic, then what she actually did was light him on fire. Yeah,
I mean, we do see her putting the like lighter fluid on both herself and him. Like they're both holding the book, and she's spraying the stuff all over it. Like we know that at the very least she's being like negligent with his safety. and the safety of everyone in the house by
Just
spraying
on their
paint
wood
thinner all over the
floors.
place. But I think it's fair to be like, okay, yeah, like he refuses to like go along with her suicide, and so, or her perceived suicide, and so that's like another way that she kind of lashes out when things don't go her way, but then she rewrites it in her mind. Like I feel like that's like such a recurring event in the movie that we see her like, oh, well, things aren't going the way that I want. Well, I'm going to force you to do it. And if you don't, then it's like things go even worse.
It's funny how much I clocked her narcissism, but didn't clock that I was dealing with an unreliable narrator, because I was watching her descent into what very clearly looks to be a psychotic break. But I'm like, but everything I've seen in the film actually validates the things that she's saying. She just sounds insane because like a satanic cult is doing this to her. But if we take the reading that all of that is in her mind, and it's just this is just a family annihilation situation caused by a psychotic break, well, then yeah, unreliable narrator situation, that makes sense too, and she is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like, I think it's it's a very valid like an analysis. I mean, in multiple ways, like there's just so many points where we see her like clearly unable to grapple with the reality of her situation. Oh, like there's another one where the son is like, you were trying to pull my head off, you know? And she's like, no, I'm here to help you. I'm the only one who can help you. Like, I'm the only one who can get us out of this. It's like this,
even though the scene before we had seen when she wrecked all of her miniatures, there was still Peter's bedroom with a doll of Peter without his head.
Yes. So we can reliably presume that yes, she actually did go into his room and was pulling on his head, and it freaked him the fuck out. And then she can't tell, like she doesn't know how to. Either she doesn't know how to discern, or she just defensively lies about what occurred. But like you mentioned at the beginning, like it's a lot of like in the family, there's this unhealthy relationship with like responsibility. Oh, another example of this is the very beginning of the movie. She goes to the trauma group and she says like, oh, I feel like I'm being blamed. And then the person asks like, well, what are you being blamed for? And then she's just like, well, I don't even know. Like she has this like pre-baked martyrdom complex, or like complex with her own sense of guilt, which I assume is also like probably comes from her relationship with her mom. Like her mom is probably like, oh, well, like, look, like you're not the child that I wanted for this demon or whatever. But it doesn't really like matter what her mom's reasoning was. She has like this ongoing guilt that is carried forward into her adult life. It's wild.
I do think that like the ability to grapple, like we've kind of touched a little bit on like accountability, like the inability to grapple with what we have done and what our actions have had the consequences of and everything. And like I think it loops back into the inability to accept reality as a whole. Like if you can't accept that, Peter's inability to accept that his negligence caused his sister to die, like all of these different things. And I kind of wanted to bring it back to the dad for a second. I just didn't have the chance to jump in earlier because obviously he has the same problems where he is having a difficult time grappling with reality. He's dissociating, pulling back, doing the avoidant thing. And like, so I did think that he is probably better than average as far as my view of portrayals of fathers in movies. Like not great, not good, but like better than average with like at the very minimum, like, patting his son on the back. Like that's like you like try, you're like, I'm here for you physically, but not like beyond that. So yeah, there was certainly like a relationship missing there where like and it's not his fault either. Like he has been trapped in a situation where he is inadvertently like supporting his wife's mental illness probably. And like, he finds the point where he's like, I can't help you with this. Like, I'm not going to continue to go along. And probably there have been things, little rituals of hers and things that he's gone along with. And I've just been thinking about this recently because of interpersonal things that I'm going through, that we end up in these cycles where we're actually accidentally making our partner worse toward us by reinforcing their insecurities. So it's like one of those things where you're reinforcing her mental illness whenever you help her with these rituals. There's a reason why treatment for OCD involves not doing any of the weird shit that you want to do. you have to cancel it out. You have to do the opposite. And so, yeah, for him to finally at the end of like 20 years of being with this woman, presumably, like they have 2 children together and their son's in high school. So 20 years with this woman, and he's just like so beat down. And he's just completely backed out. And like, I think if she hadn't gone all murder suicide at the end, whether we're taking that as supernatural or not, I think that he probably would have been like, I'm done though. And I think that he would have been correct to be like, I'm done though.
I mean, he said he was going to call the police. He told her that his first concern had to be for his son's welfare. Yeah. And whether or not there was a satanic cult, yes, you can absolutely argue that she was a danger to her son at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think the dad kind of serves as an audience like gateway to the situation, in that like he's obviously imperfect, but like also pretty much everything that he does is pretty understandable. And also like you go like, okay, so he's clearly like in denial in some way, but he's also like extremely disoriented. He doesn't know what normal is anymore because he's like in this completely absurd, terrifying, horrifying situation, and has been since the grandmother entered the life. Like we even see like the portrayal in the miniatures of like the grandmother like randomly standing in the door while they're sleeping. Like he's clearly been subject to some very upsetting and like scary and destabilizing things for a long time, and he no longer has. It's really telling. There's this part where he writes a letter, and it's presumably to Annie's doctor. And we only see it on the screen for a brief minute, but he says like, I think that Annie might be
in the middle of a major,
or in the middle of a major. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, dude, that started so long ago. Like it started you should have been like, hey, let's get the doctor, let's get you to the therapist. Like when the mom's death occurred, like let's and so there's like this thing, but also it's clear that like Annie is very willful and like doesn't really want to work with him and is super secretive. So he's in this situation where it's like, well, like, yeah, he has a ton like pushed onto him as well. And like, I think he's most guilty of like denial, which I think is like a really understandable, like perhaps the most understandable of any of the characters, like flaw. Maybe Peter is a little more understandable in that he's just like, Jesus Christ, help. But it's like, he's just like, oh man, like I'm trying my best to balance all this and not making all the right decisions, because how do you do that when you have a wife who's like possibly putting a dead body in your attic? Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot.
Also, they are way isolated.
Yes.
Like they live somewhere where you have to go down a dusty road with no fucking lights, like no street lamps or anything in order to get from to a hospital or to your friend's party or whatever. So I think that definitely, the setting contributes to, like, it compounds all those issues because there's nobody else to bounce off of when you're stuck in that situation.
And that is something that
the wife works at home, which can be bad for people with issues like what she has.
Oh, absolutely. I think that like that's a through line that goes through to Midsommar, which is like isolation and loneliness and like what it can lead to. The sort of like interplay between like isolation and really, really messed up social structures that like seem like refuge by comparison to the isolation. That like loneliness and isolation are huge driving factors in human derangement, I guess would be the word to put it.
Dysfunction, derangement.
Yeah. Like I'll have a lot to say about that when we get to Midsommar, but I think it's important to note that there is a through line here. I'm very interested to see how this carries forward to Beau is Afraid, which is the movie I'm most excited to see. I have been sitting on it for a long time and looking forward to it. And
if there's one word that I could use to describe Beau is Afraid, dysfunction would not be a bad choice.
Yeah.
So
I'm very excited to see it. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think I like this movie even more on my second viewing. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
I think it gets better every time I see it.
You want to watch it for a second time because I'm going to. I was not thinking I was going to, and then I'm like, no, I do. I think it
gets its hooks in your brain.
It does. Yeah. It really does. When I first saw this movie, like it was one of the movies that I can like. There's a handful of movies I can think of that made me feel like legitimately sick to my stomach,
Yes.
where I was just like, wow, I don't feel like I want to eat or anything. This is one of them. This movie is one of them.
Orange
Another
did
one
that
is
for me.
A Clockwork Orange. Yep, that same thing. Yep, another movie that did that, and another one
That's
was.
a movie I have not gone back to. That I like literally felt like
we should
physically
do that.
violently ill after that one, and I don't think I'm actually ever going to go back and watch it again.
I was gonna say that'd be a juicy one.
Indicated in my choice to never watch this movie.
It is a very it's weird because it's not even like we don't have to talk about Clockwork Orange, but I watched it at a pretty a fairly young age, and I was like, that movie made me angry sick. Like I was like, oh god. But then as I've thought about it over the years, this movie is one of them. Another one is There Will Be Blood,
which I haven't seen yet.
Oh, that would be another great one to watch. It's another movie that like does the like dread thing. There Will Be Blood is not a horror movie. It's another dread movie where you're just like the whole movie is steeped in this just horrible dread. And yeah, it's wild. But yeah, this movie
will push back. I mean, you may be right about There Will Be Blood, but what you said and comparing it to this movie is that's a thing that I've noticed that a lot of people have been doing when there's a horror movie that they like. They don't want to call it horror. In fact, Ari Aster himself did not pitch this as a horror film because he was worried about the stigma that horror carries with it. And so he pitched it as a family dysfunctional drama, which it is. But it's a horror movie, and like it feels like in people's minds, horror means bad.
I for the record, just to be clear, I don't think that. I know you don't. I'm a big horror fan. I just mean that like when I think of like horror movies, like there are certain genre indicators that I usually look for. I do consider this movie a horror movie for sure, but There Will Be Blood is like there's not really horror elements in any angle unless like you want to go to a really like avant-garde interpretation of horror. That's just all I meant with that is it's like it's not it's very different from this movie, but it manages to evoke dread in a similar way.
I will say that the line between horror and thriller is very fuzzy and might not be a meaningful distinction.
That's true. Like that is one line that I've never fully gotten, except for that like thrillers to me are they
generally more action-y.
Yeah, there's more action elements. But then that said, like there's all these like Predator and Alien, and there's all these movies where it's like the lines are just, I don't know, like, and like The Thing, which now I would vote so hard to watch that movie. Probably my favorite horror movie of all time. Fuck, I love that movie. But the Thing is like, okay, this is like definitely a horror movie, but if you wanted to make the argument that it was also a thriller with how much action stuff is in it, you could probably make that argument. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love horror movies. And I'm really excited, Moss, that you're going to do some horror movies with us. And I'm hoping that this can spark your love for horror, because let me tell you, there is a whole world of like horror auteurship, of like these horror directors and writers who have such a vision and such a commitment to their vision, and they make it through horror, and like they get kind of like cut out of the general like movie. I don't know what the right word is. The movie. I'm blanking on the word here, but like what is considered like the best of the best, just because they make predominantly horror movies, and it's just like, oh, you don't know what people don't know what they're missing out on.
The industry doesn't respect horror. Why was Toni Collette not even nominated for an Oscar for this film? Her performance is seriously one of the greatest acting I have seen this century.
This movie relies so heavily on it too. Like this movie relies so much on the powerful acting of a tight crew. Like I thought that like the scene in the hallway at the end where she's like, please, like I really need you to go upstairs and look at the attic. Like I was like, this woman carried this whole fucking movie on that performance.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's like, oh man, that the scene where she's like sees Peter covered in ants, and like that one face, like that, the fact that has not like taken the place of like, or not taken the place, but like doesn't share like a hall of glory with with the Shining, like shots of from The Shining. Like her face there it's so scary. You can't help but be upset. Like, in my opinion, like, I don't know how you don't see her face acting there and go like, oh my God, I'm getting like scared just from looking at her, even out of context. Like, it's so good. I mean, I do think that there's like maybe it's coming around. Maybe like this is going to be a new, era of people taking horror seriously as like the industry as a whole rots. And like we are in this new era of all these big industries just totally reshaping. Horror is in a golden age. And I'd like to see
Jordan Peele.
Oh my God! Yes.
I want to see some Jordan Peele movies. I hear really good things, and I haven't seen any of them.
Good. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them.
Oh my goodness!
I think I might put that on the list then.
Yes. Oh, I'm so down. Yeah. Oh man, like, I could talk.
I'm definitely gonna have to become more familiar with because, like, okay, so I'm doing a lot of restructuring on my channels and everything. And I'm trying to talk about movies and TV. I just did a video about True Blood that I enjoyed quite a bit. But in order to engage with queer narratives, you basically have no choice but to delve into horror. Like it's, especially if you want like something from the first person perspective that's not like, it's either comedy where it's a cis person who wrote it and it's taking the joke out of you, or it's a trans artist making trans art and it's always horror. What is the deal? I saw the TV Glow, like they slashed them.
Movie killed me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, I think it comes from the fact that like, horror exists on the fringe with taboo. You know what I mean? What? It's where it is what is like for a long time, it has been the boundary lines of what's acceptable to display and often deliberately going across those lines. Within horror, there is so much taboo, like socially taboo depictions down to like, I mean, you can get to really extreme levels on pretty much any subject. And so it makes sense that like, if you are relegated to if your body and your existence is relegated to existing within societal taboo, that you would find a place among artists and in genres where exploration of taboo topics is more acceptable, or at least is a subject of fascination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of ties into the popularity of horror in general right now too, that there's a lot of like anxieties that we have as a culture.
Always built on social anxiety. That's
So we have a lot to be freaked out about. Like, we're constantly using horror to reflect our fear of the other, reflect our fear of isolation, reflect our fear of disconnection, which I think that this film really ties in hardcore to that. Like, we are social animals. If we are isolated, we will die. Like, that is a biological urge that we have. That's why shame and rejection feels so intense for us. It is biological. You need to be a member of a club or a tribe or whatever word you want to use. You got to be a part of a group. So yeah, this is expressing that anxiety of like isolation, lacking control. I mean, like, yeah, the scary other. This one ties in kind of a lot of different things together, which I think makes it a very well-rounded horror because, yeah, we're touching on just like a lot of these different things and the intersection of them and how they play in together, where isolation compounds issues of feeling out of control and everything like that.
Yeah. No, I think we'll find some things to love in the horror genre for you. I really do.
I just don't enjoy it. Like, I can enjoy the speculative part afterwards. Just during it, I'm like, I'm going to get up and go do something else. Like, I'll come back to this in 10 minutes.
It's an acquired taste, I will say.
And that's the viewing experience at home. Having the option to pause it does help.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. There's some genres for me where like I can't watch it on my own. I have to watch it with others because otherwise I won't get through it. And it's not even horror usually. Like comedy a lot of times, especially cringe comedy. I cannot watch that alone. I will pause every 3 seconds.
No, I just don't want to do it.
I can't get through it. Like,
I don't watch The Office. We stopped watching The Office at some point because I was like, I can't keep fucking doing this.
I saw Meet the Parents in a theater, and that's probably the only way I could have got through that. And I'm never going to watch any of the others. I'm never going to watch it again. It was, cringe comedy like that. I just can't. So movies as communal experience helps us get through it as well, I think. Yeah, I think horror is a really good one to watch with other people, too. I think both because you can bounce off each other's reactions and also, like, there's I'm safe because I'm with somebody, a friend or a loved one or something like that.
Yeah, so the comfort.
There's the comfort, but there's yeah, horror is a communal experience, I think. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more of these with everyone else. Do we have any final thoughts on this one?
I guess that I'll just end off by shouting out all of the parts of this movie where the special effects and visual choices really do work. Because I know that I kind of dunked on the like lady crawling on the wall, like I didn't really love that. But there are quite a few scenes in this that are just so visually disturbing. One of them is like very early on in the film when Annie sees her mother sitting in the corner of the room. And it's like, it's a very like classic ghost sighting type thing, but the way they handle turning on the light and the ghost disappearing, and it's fantastic. The shot of Charlie's head with the ants on it is
I was going to bring that up.
Sickening.
It's brutal.
It's God, it's so hard to look at.
And the jaw is all fucked up. Yeah.
If you are a fan of seeing head trauma, Ari Aster is your filmmaker. And if you are not a fan of seeing head trauma, well, you're stuck.
Ari Aster might also be your filmmaker.
Yeah. Like I watched Beau is Afraid for the first time a couple months ago with a friend, and I was just like, "Where's the head trauma? This is this is a Ari Aster movie. There's the head trauma. There it is. Yeah. I was asking for it. I got it."
The head trauma is definitely a recurring feature. Another thing that's an interesting Ari Aster signature is facial deformity.
Yeah. Well, that I'm warping that into it too. But yeah, Millie Shapiro as Charlie, I think she has a specific cleidocranial dystosis.
Is she supposed to be autistic in the story? I thought it was really shitty when the mom was like, she did not offer the option of like, you can grow up and take care of yourself. Like implied that she was going to have support needs for the rest of her life. Didn't like that.
I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, there's that. Ari Aster does like having physical horror in ways that are like not schlocky, but especially his depiction of corpses, and like in this movie and in Midsommar, you'll see it too. He tries to go for a very realistic portrayal of human decay, which because it's not schlocky, because it's not over the top blood and gore everywhere, because it's more natural, it feels really like, oh, that's what a dead body actually looks like. That's disturbing because it's not gory. It's just, oh, that skin color is wrong. Yeah.
The dead body in the attic was another one where I was just like, oh God, like that's so upsetting. And there's a lot of it. Oh, and another thing I guess that I thought of just now that I think I probably, neglected to talk about earlier on in the podcast, but there's this one scene where Peter is smoking weed with his friends under the bleachers at school. I love that scene. It is like one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in a movie that's mostly dread, and that one just makes you feel like this deep sadness where he starts like coughing on the weed, and then he repeats the line that Charlie said to him right before the accident, like, I feel like my throat is getting bigger, and then he just asks for someone to hold his hand. And it's like, it is so heartbreaking, and I love that scene. I didn't really know how to fit in talking about it in the rest of what we were talking about, but I just feel like that scene deserves a little bit of a shout out for being it like slaps you in the face with how tonally different it is, where it's just like, oh, this is like a sad kid, and
he's a child who needs connection.
You want to just like get him out of the house as soon as possible, and like, it's so sad.
And it's not even like he's like an unpopular kid. He's a good-looking kid who has a cute girl who's interested in him and stuff. It's just his home life is so fucked. This is a good movie. Don't watch it if you are not in the right headspace for it. It will fuck you up. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us for this talk. Next time, we are hitting Midsommar in the middle of fall. So,
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think that works if you switch hemispheres either, because wrong slice of the year. Anyway, thank you all so much. I've been Gayfesh.
I'm Moss.
And I'm DemonMama.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.